This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Daws.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. Well, here we almost are. We are here in sound, but if you're watching on Patreon, do not adjust your set.
It's just as well, because Adam Croft is sitting here in the total buff. So we've had to close down all cameras on this sad occasion for British broadcasting. And you can only imagine the trauma that I'm going through sitting socially distanced, thank goodness, away from this new look host to Partners in Crime.
It seems to have broken the cameras as well, which is interesting. So, yeah, cue me flapping around before the show this morning. And then after not very long at all, saying, sod it, we'll go audio only this week. Give me another week to fix it. Oh, how are you, Bob? How's your week been?
Well, do you know what? I've been having a lovely time. Let's get the weather sorted first. As usual, it's lovely. We've finally got some gorgeous weather after, the nicest thing you could possibly call it is a slightly indifferent spring. So that's lovely. Everyone's in the garden. We're in the garden, and the sun is shining. And so I've had a very nice week. I've met my publishers this week, who said, "Where's the book?" And I said, "Don't know. It's coming."
What book?
So it's there. I've done all the work. I've just got to actually sit down and do it. And they said, "Well, would you mind doing so?" So So how about your week?
Frantic. It was meant to be having a couple of weeks off actually, but that turns out not to have been the case. I was speaking recently actually to a friend of mine who is involved with a radio station up in Rutland.
Why?
Rutland and Stamford Sound. Well, that was a weird squeaky noise.
That was me taking my glasses off and rubbing against the headphones. You see, if the viewers would have loved to have seen that moment, I'm sure. But it's an interesting sound.
I imagine they're probably indifferent. So anyway, we've been talking about me doing a little show here and there. And he gave me a call on Monday morning, and he said, "Are you free for a chat about lunchtime, just so I can kind of show you the system and how it all works?" I said, yeah, fine, let's go through it. And we had a look at it. I said, okay, yeah, that seems fine to me. He said, "How would you like to cover some shows?" I said, "Well, yeah, I can do that. Is somebody ill, somebody on holiday?" He said, "Yeah, we need somebody to cover drive time." And I thought, okay, this is not the 1 hour a week graveyard shift I thought I might be doing. This is a 4 hour prime slot, one of the two big radio slots.
The full Mayo.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, okay, that's a big ask, but fine, I'm happy to have a go. I said, when would that be? Thinking this would be a 1 day thing. He said, well, it would be for a fortnight. I said, okay, that's 40 hours of radio in 2 weeks. And I said, when is it? He said, well, it's free from today if you want it. And by this point we were at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The show starts at 3.
When was this?
This is on Monday this week.
I thought you were looking a bit weary.
Yeah. So yeah, with 2 hours notice, I was in the hot seat for a 4 hour radio show. Which I'm now doing all this week and next week on Rutland and Stamford Sound.
Adam Croft, how do you do? I wouldn't know where to start.
Well, fortunately, most radio play-out things are kind of similar, and I've done it a bit over the years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things. I think you get dropped in the deep end and you got to do it. And I think it was all right. I had some lovely feedback on the first show. So.
Well, can you get, how far does, what's it called, Rutland
and Stamford Sound. Yeah, well, you can listen online, so
right.
They've got an app and things like that, and smart speakers. And
is there a place for complaints and stuff like that?
I think it's probably worn out at the moment. I think they're a bit busy on that address.
But how exciting. But this is, again, how wonderful it is. You can actually record a show for Rutland Sound sat here in our studio.
Yeah. Well, everyone's doing it all remotely anyway. Most radio is remote at the moment. What with the pandemic?
Even Ken Bruce has only just come back to Wogan House.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I have got a studio set up here because of the podcast and various bits and bobs. So, Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't know where to start. So
I'm
full
not much
elaboration.
further ahead.
I think that's absolutely. I wouldn't know what to talk about, really. I mean, it's just as well we know what we're going to. Our basic subject of this show is crime fiction. But if I was left to my own devices, I don't know what I'd be coming up with. A load of old burbling nonsenses.
Well, I'm used to doing that.
Yeah,
So,
well, there we are.
yeah,
So shall we burble on with some more?
Exactly.
Well, there we are.
We've planned this no more, really, have we?
Well, it's time to put my glasses back. Oh, that's my glasses squeaking against my headphones. How exciting is this? I've got a little bit of news. Arrived on my phone this morning from the marvellous Mark Sanderson, who runs the Sunday Times Crime Club, who has an announcement. He says, "Congratulations to Crime Club." Congratulations to Crime Club contributors Chris Brookmeyer, Stuart McBride, Denise Mina, and Alan Parks, who, I can exclusively reveal, are on the long list of this year's McIlvanney Prize for the Best Scottish Crime Novel. Their respective novels, The Cut, The Coffin Maker's Garden, The Less Dead, and The April Dead, should grace the bookshelves of every crime fan. The other 9 long-listed authors are, and there'll be a few surprises here, Emma Christie, no relation I don't think, Alex Gray, Neil Lancaster, Val McDermid, William McIntyre, Ewan Morris, Robbie Morrison, Craig Russell, and Mark Whiteman. My money's on Robbie Morrison's Edge of the Grave, joining the other mentioned titles on the shortlist in September. Fascinating news, and particularly interesting news, because Mark Whiteman is a Hobeck signing. He's a Hobeck author. So that will be no doubt causing much excitement at Camp Hobeck with Rebecca and Adrian. It's very nice to have a new publishing house hit early nominations with one of their writers. So I should imagine they'll be beside themselves with glee. And as a fellow Hobeck, I'll be wishing Mark Whiteman all the very best. But he is in wonderful company, as you can see, and that is, as I say, the McIlvanney Prize for Best Scottish Crime Novel. And let's face it, there are many fine, and most of them I've just read out there, Scottish crime writers. So there we go. That's my first little bit of news at the top of the show.
Brilliant. Well, if you are a Partners in Crime patron and you haven't already claimed a refund and cancelled your membership because you can't see us this week, in fact, we should probably charge even extra. Charge even more for people who don't have to look at us each week.
Well, no, it may sound as if you're charging even more to see you in the buff.
No, I mean, charge them to have the camera switched off.
Oh,
you can pay a surcharge to not see us.
But do you know, that could be very popular.
Could be.
For goodness sake, we've been having to look at them all this time, and isn't it lovely just to hear their dulcet tones?
Yeah. It's worth the £600 a month to not see them. But if you are a patron, if you haven't yet cancelled, then you will probably have seen, and if you haven't, go and see the book of the month for June, which is now in your dashboards, completely free, courtesy of Kobo this month. It's Death of a Painter by Matthew Ross. I'm going to read the back of the book because that's what we do. When Mark Pointer discovers a murder on his worksite, all of his financial problems suddenly seem a lot closer to home. Was this a warning his debts are overdue? Suspected of being the killer and worried at being the intended victim, the murder only makes Mark's money problems worse, leading him to turn to the local villain Hamlet, who has his own unique repayment plan for Mark. How about that? There's a bit more, but I won't read it all.
Oh, I was hooked then. I was absolutely hooked.
Okay, I'll do the rest.
Yes, thank you.
When 2 more deaths plunge him into even further debt, Mark finds himself faced with a choice: help the police and clear his name, or help the villain and clear his debt. It's set in the Medway towns on the grey margins of criminality, where no job's too big and no dodge is too small.
Very nice. A nice little bit of bump there. Remind me, looking at the G7 that was held last week in Cornwall, which most people will know, I'm sure it reminded me, looking at it, of an Agatha Christie novel, and then there were none. A group of people invited. It's a little island, which is actually off the coast. It's off the coast of Devon, the actual island that she drew inspiration for, and then there were none. Yes, it is.
So, yeah.
Yes, it is. It's on the south side. All invited there, and it looked, apart from our Prime Minister in buffoonishness, we shouldn't actually, on this broadcast, use any of our particular political biases. So I think I've just let that slip.
I don't think it's a political bias to call Boris Johnson a buffoon. I think that's just generally
Well, there was
accepted.
a wonderful piece of film where they were all having a photo op on the beach, and off he trod, fully expecting everyone to follow him. And they didn't. The rest of the leaders, Biden and Macron and Trudeau, they all sort of just started chatting and having a laugh and walking along. And only Merkel sort of followed him. And then she looked and realised that she was following the wrong. So she tried to double back to go to the others. He rushed back to her to try and engage her, so he didn't look as if he was totally on his own. As I said, if the pictures can say more than any words.
It's almost like the leaders of the world haven't got a clue what they're doing.
It is almost like that. But anyway, let's hope they did some good. I don't think they did nearly enough as regards environmental change, but we're used to that happening. Lots of promises, no funding, it seems, so no changes there. But yeah.
Well, while we're on news...
Cornwall was looking gorgeous, however, and that's always good news.
Yeah. While we're on news, we should probably do something slightly crime-related, I guess. Amelia Fox, who, again, going back to politics, is probably the more popular of the Fox siblings at the moment. She was co-presenter on a documentary, Jack the Ripper, The Case Reopened, on BBC One a couple of years ago, which she was... co-hosting with Professor David Wilson. Well, they're back with In the Footsteps of Killers. Fox is, of course, best known for playing forensics expert Dr. Nikki Alexander on Silent Witness. And David Wilson is a prison governor turned criminologist specialising in serial killers. The new show, In the Footsteps of Killers, has 3 episodes which will see the duo delve into cold cases, travelling to the locations where they occurred and meeting with witnesses, suspects and the friends and families of the victims in the hope of getting a picture of what may have happened. Their aim is to uncover facts and possible clues that might have been missed or did not come to light during the original investigations. That'd be embarrassing if they turned up now, years on, and just found like a knife in a bush somewhere, wouldn't it?
It would be. I'm sure it's happened. But what channel is that on?
I think that's going to be on Channel 4. Yes, Channel 4.
Channel 4, right.
The opening programme focuses on best friends David Spencer, who's 13, and Patrick Warren, 11, who vanished on Boxing Day in 1996. The case has perhaps a special meaning for Wilson, who has been outspoken in his criticism of the original investigation, claiming the police initially believed they were runaways because they were working class and that their disappearance would have been taken more seriously had they come from a more affluent background, perhaps like, say, Madeleine McCann. But there we are. So yes, Channel 4, that will be In the Footsteps of Killers. I'm scrolling frantically trying to find a date.
Yes, and will you stop scrolling? You've got no clothes on.
I mean, pop Channel 4 on now, and it'll be on at some point in the next year. Shall I carry on?
Oh, I thought you were carrying on. I thought you were scrolling.
I can carry on.
I'm sorry. I was distracted while. Have you got the scrolls? No, I always walk this way. Yes, carry on. And I'm trying to find something over here. So I am listening, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
That's not a problem at all. I was also in the news. I spotted this week the British author Imran Mahmood has been talking about his widely acclaimed debut novel, You Don't Know Me, which received praise from Lee Child, Tara French, Ruth Ware, and more heavyweights in the crime world. He's just released his second novel, I Know What I Saw, which consolidates even his position as an unpredictable crime writer, able to tell a complex, fast-paced story and keep readers hooked. That sounds like it's written by his publisher. The story revolves around the once wealthy banker living on the streets who witnesses a vicious crime and must confront his own demons as he goes searching for answers in an unforgiving London where there is danger on the streets. He's been a criminal banister. No, he's not a criminal banister. He's been a
criminal banister.
He's been a criminal barrister for more than 25 years.
The banister broke and the victim fell to the death. It was a criminal banister.
The new book, I Know What I Saw, is a story of a formerly wealthy, bright, Oxford-educated man who has become homeless. He shelters in what he thinks is an empty flat on one rain-soaked night. But as he's drying off, the occupants return. He hides and witnesses one of them murdering the other. But when he goes to the police, they don't believe him because the flat he described it happening in and the woman he sees killed have both vanished.
Ooh.
How can a flat vanish? I don't know, but I'm going to buy it and find out because I know what
It's
I saw.
demolished.
Yeah, well, yeah, in that half an hour. Yeah, I know what I saw by Imran Mahmood is out now.
Right, well, I'm very excited this week because there has been a return of one of my favourite series of the crime series of the year, and that is Lupin, which we, the first 6 episodes we reviewed a few months back. It was 5 months ago, goodness me. Anyway, it's back, and it's up to its wonderful tricks, thoroughly entertaining, and I've got 2 more episodes to go, and I'll have the full lot, and I can't wait for a Series 3, which they are already saying is going to take place, and I'm not at all surprised. Anyway, Sabrina Barr writes quite eloquently about this. Fans of French mystery thriller Lupin have been eagerly waiting for the release date of Part 2 on Netflix following the positive reception of Part 1 when it was released earlier this year. The cast for the series boasts that wonderful actor Omar Sy, and he is quite fantastic as Arsène Diop, a master burglar who takes inspiration from French literary character Arsène Lupin, a gentleman thief created by Maurice Leblanc. In Part 1, Arsène seeks revenge on Hubert Pellegrini, played by the very unpleasant Hervé Pierre. Hervé Pierre's not unpleasant, of course, but the character Pellegrini that he plays is not very pleasant. A business tycoon who 25 years previously framed Lupin's father for theft of an extremely valuable diamond necklace. However, Arsène carries out his daring plan to bring an end to Pellegrini's dastardly ways once and for all, which includes stealing the necklace back and exposing Pellegrini for his crimes. The people who he treasures most in his life, including his son, are put at risk. And the second part of Lupin, the next episodes, which, as I say, I'm watching, begins with a threat. The son is actually kidnapped. I shouldn't give that away, but I do. And the opening episode is quite fantastic as Arsène Lupin desperately tries to get his son back, who has been taken by Léonard, who is Pellegrini's henchman, played marvellously and sinisterly by Adama Nian. It's absolutely great. It's a fantastic cast. It keeps you on your toes, and it really is a sort of modern-day Robin Hood. Great set pieces, and it doesn't mess about. You know, it takes at times sweeping plot risks and conclusions, which you just accept. You just go, fine, we didn't have to hang around with that. You know, he is superhuman. He is like a Marvel character, is Lupin. And as I say, wonderfully played by Omar Sy. And the rest of the cast are all there. And one of my favourites in this cast, I have to say, is Hassan's dog. Who they've got this wonderful running gag all the way through, where because he hates Pellegrini, Hubert Pellegrini, so very much, he's taught his dog to bark whenever the name Pellegrini comes up, of course, which is brings me much amusement, I have to say. But anyway, it's back on again. You can get all the episodes. Which channel is it on? It's Netflix, of course it is. It's on Netflix. So anyway, Netwix sounds like a hardware store.
We're doing well today, aren't we?
Yeah, well, there
Criminal
we are.
Banisters and Netwix.
Netwix, that's it. Yeah. But it's absolutely great. So tune in if you haven't seen the first bunch. Watch those 2. You won't be disappointed. And so far, I've got 2 episodes which I've been saving for tonight. So that's Tuesday night for me taken care of. And I will be sad to see it go and look forward, as I said earlier, to Series 3, which hopefully will land on Netflix sometime after Christmas.
Lovely jubbly. Well, if you're not into watching TV, if you fancy a read, you might like to go and grab one from Kobo, who very kindly sponsor Partners in Crime. They're one of the world's largest ebook retailers. And as a listener, you get a massive 90% off of your first ebook purchase from them. Just enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout to claim that. And if you're an existing customer, you can follow the link in our show notes and use the promo code PARTNERS to get 40% off of selected ebook purchases forever, basically. And I think, Bob, you've got a recommendation
of a book
that they might want to use that code on.
Yes, I certainly do. And this has been recommended to me by someone who I trust. And it is a book called The Maidens, and it's by Alex Michaelides. It's the new thriller from the author of the global best-selling debut, The Silent Patient, which some of you may have read and very much enjoyed, I hope. Here's a little synopsis of what you might expect once you have purchased your copy of The Maidens from Kobo.
I've got it somewhere. I'm looking behind me.
We all keep secrets, even from ourselves. A thrilling heart-in-throat ride, says Stephen Fry. An absolute jaw-dropper, says Lucy Foley. From the author of the global #1 best-selling debut, The Silent Patient, comes a spellbinding literary thriller weaving together Greek mythology, psychology and murder. St. Christopher's College, Cambridge, is a closed world to most. For Mariana Andros, a group therapist struggling through her private grief, it's where she met her late husband. For her niece Zoe, it's a tragic scene of her best friend's murder. As memory and mystery entangle Mariana, she finds a society full of secrets which has been shocked to its core by the murder of one of its own, because behind its idyllic beauty is a web of jealousy and rage which emanates from an exclusive set of students known only as the Maidens, a group under the sinister influence of the enigmatic Professor Edward Fosca, a man who seems to know more than anyone about the murders and the victims, and the man who will become the prime suspect in Mariana's investigation, an obsession which will unravel everything. The Maidens is a story of love and of grief, of what makes us who we are and what makes us kill. Lots of very great, marvellous endorsements. David Baldacci says, a page-turner of the first order. Tony Parsons, the greatest campus novel since The Secret History by Donna Tartt, with a climatic twist that you will never see coming. A stunning psychological thriller. Michaelides is on a roll, says Publishers Weekly. So there it is. The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Get it on Kobo. It sounds like a cracking read.
Certainly does. I've had no time to read this week. I've been reading a bit more of the new Peter James book.
Yes.
Which is still very enjoyable. Do you know what? I realised actually that this is, I think Peter James's books, the only ones that I religiously buy as soon as they're out.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
in
I've
fact,
noticed that over the years.
I've got last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, last 7, 8 in hardback. So I've not even waited for them to hit paperback. So there we go.
Grief. Yes, we're both big fans, and but even I have not.
We've
got
been
as
called
big
worse
a
than
collection
that.
as yours. We have. That is quite a collection, I have to say. But I haven't begun reading the new one yet, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually getting through
I've got a
my
signed
list.
copy.
Have you got? Yes, yeah, yes. Well,
Not from Peter. I had to buy it.
well, Adam Croft buys Peter James's book and signs them himself.
Yeah. To Adam, love your work.
Anyway, over to drive time.
Yeah.
If you're travelling on the A397,
Oh, that doesn't go through Rutland and Stamford. What are you
I don't
talking
know,
about?
mate. I'm
no.
making roads up here.
Well, I have to do traffic and travel every half an hour. So,
And
yeah.
do you hand over to someone else to do the traffic and travel?
No, it's all there on my screen.
Oh, so you do it. So it's not like Ken and
I haven't got Sally Traffic. No,
and you haven't got Sally Traffic.
no, I have got somebody updating the studio whiteboard.
But
with the
in her
traffic.
absence, you are Sally Traffic.
Yeah, I do a little voice.
Yes.
I put a little dress on twice an hour.
If you're driving in a car, be very careful if you're going down the because there's been a slight accident. Is that that's a nice little voice to use?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty much it.
I'm going to tune in. Don't you worry. I am going to use all courses to send my thoughts about the project and their new drive time hero.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I've got other things, but I've got to say something for Arsenic and Old Lace, as I'm running out of.
Yeah.
Coming up in Arsenic and Old Lace, there is going to be. I'll tell you because I'm going to save it for that. Is Bobo's Kobo audiobook of the Weeko, which is a novel by the great Walter Mosley, and there is also, I'm going to mention a new book which I've noticed from Rachel Amphlett called The Bridge to Burn, which I'm going to mention as well. So that's coming up in the
After show.
The Late Show with Adam Croft. So yeah,
That'll be the next one when I'm kicked off drive time.
now I've also heard that you've actually bought yourself something for your birthday.
Oh yeah.
I was expecting you to say that you decided to get a new car as a special treat. But
Do you know what?
no.
It would have been cheaper.
Really?
It's not far off. Yeah. And I bought myself a nice big tree fern. I've got a small one. There we go. That's Moriarty can clip that one up and use it.
Yes, exactly. Considering the situation you now find yourself in, loincloth, a Croft.
I've bought myself a 6-footer to go in the garden for my birthday.
Okay,
so,
take me through this. What's so special about this 6-footer? Why would you purchase this tree, and what sort of price does it come at?
Well, they're lovely, lovely trees. I mean, they grow very slowly. So at that size, it's probably about 60 years old.
It's 60 years old already?
Yeah. They grow, in fact, they can only be grown, I believe, in Tasmania and Victoria.
Well, we've got the weather for that at the moment.
Well,
it's
yeah.
very Tasmanian.
So they come over with a plant passport and all the rest of it, and they all have their unique identifying numbers and what have you. And it's very odd because you essentially buy a big 6-foot log because they don't have roots, generally speaking.
Right.
It's just a log you kind of sink a foot or so into the ground. So that's
like
10
a
years
fencing
worth.
stake or something.
Yeah, kind
like
of,
that,
but a lot thicker, yeah. So you sink the first foot into the ground, which is 10 years worth of growth and probably about £100 gone, and then big fronds come out the top, like big kind of fern-like fronds that come out, and it's a very kind of beautiful architectural plant, very tropical, very nice.
Is it something you saw at the Chelsea Flower Show, or something you've been admiring on garden as well?
No, I've got a smaller one in the garden already. But I've always wanted to get a big one, but never really had anywhere to put it.
And are they easy to come by?
They kind of are, but at certain times of the year.
You can't nip down to Frost's and get one, for instance, or
Possibly, if you time it right. They're very popular.
Oh, right.
But of course, because they're all shipped over from the other side of the world. But yeah, I've been looking trying to find a spot in the garden for some time, and I had a rhododendron that decided to very slowly give up the ghost, and I said last week, do you know what? I'm going to take that out, and that's where my tree fern is going.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Well, thank you everyone listening to Gardener's World this week. That was Adam Croft talking about his new tree, which is to be planted. It's on its way on the back of a big lorry. And in the meantime, there's a big hole in his back garden where the aforementioned tree is going to go. Or so he says. It is rather similar to a body-sized hole in his garden. So hopefully this idea of him getting a tree is absolutely authentic and it's not to cover some mysterious dark deed.
It always comes round to crime eventually.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Daws and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Faish. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.